Well, let's have a conversation, a very quick one on that, as well as the books, issues about the books, and then about the effect that this is having on businesses of the publishers. I have here in the studio Vincent Assafuah. He's a public relations officer for the Ministry of Education. Mr. Assafuah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
It's been a while we had you in the studio. So yes, let's see if we can do justice to some of these matters arising. Let's begin with the strike. The teachers have just declared a strike starting from today. We don't know when they're ending it. Sounds like an indefinite strike because of this HRMIS system that they're talking about. How is the ministry addressing this?
It's an unfortunate situation. This is a situation where I didn't expect that NAGRAT would take us to this end. However, let me state that this is a strike that is premature. I do not think that NAGRAT is oblivious of the processes to which they are supposed to go through or exhaust before they can declare a strike. My reliable information with the National Labour Commission today indicates that there have not been any indication or whatsoever to the National Labour Commission before the strike was declared. However, we believe that NAGRAT has germane concerns that the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education would have to address those issues. Issues of HRMIS being raised is true, but we should look at the good intent of the Public Services Commission when they moved away from the IPPD to the HRMIS. Because over the years, you could see that the system that was hosting both HR, that is the human resource data of all public servants, and also their payroll data was hosted on just one platform. So if you take the Ghana Education Service, for example, the IPPD was hosting payroll data and also the HR data. And so there was a decision by the Public Commission's service that why don't we allow the Controller Accountant General Department to host only the payroll data, while the HRMIS also hosts only the HR data. So it was to come in to assist the teachers themselves. Unfortunately, it is giving us some problems because of the delay. And
that's where I'm coming from,
transition.
because I want you to tell us exactly what problem is HRMIS solving. I get that it's putting them on different platforms, but what problem really is it solving? Well,
that is why I initially indicated that there used to be a system that was hosting both the HR data and the payroll data on one platform.
And how was that a problem?
It was a problem because there were issues whereby the payroll and the HR data, when you want to access, might probably be intertwined, especially when you want to have an information that is based on only payroll. So they decided that why don't they have separate platforms that can host payroll and the HR. That is why I'm saying that unfortunately the transition is what is giving us a problem now. But we hope that in no time we will be able to resolve the matter, because it is not only the HRMIS that is giving the problems. Kabonu talked about issues of transfers, he talks about issues of promotions, he talked about salary arrears, that is responsibility arrears and all that. These are issues that the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education is already engaging NAGRAT and the other teacher unions about. So I am quite surprised that NAGRAT will come out and indicate that all teachers should lay down their tools, and for that matter, those who are already in school should not engage in any instructive approaches, or better, so those who also want to go to school in no time will also not
that's a strike that has been declared, and
but I mean there are processes that are supposed to be followed,
and schools go back resume next week. I'm interested to find out, and I'm sure a lot of, not just a lot, if not all of us Ghanaians want to find out how the ministry is going to address this problem to make sure that the students don't get to school and now have to deal with absence of teachers.
Well, the Ghana Education Service is committed. We expect that NAGRAT will also be committed and come back to the negotiation table so that we will be able to deal with the matters. We agree that indeed there are problems that need to be solved. But the problems that will have to be solved are problems that the Ghana Education Service is already in talks with the teacher unions to deal with. Today, I can tell you that there was even an informal meeting with Kabuni, at the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education to deal with some of these matters.
Okay.
So it came to us as a shock that Kabonu and the NAGRAT is saying that they are laying down their tools. I will just use your platform to admonish NAGRAT to reconsider their decision, because those who actually lose this in instances like this are young kids who will now be going to school or who are expected to be going through some academic exercise. Unfortunately, because of this strike exercise, will not allow them to be able to have education. Let me state that the Ghana Education Service changed the calendar because we wanted the senior high school 3 to regain the times that they have been missing, especially when they are writing their KWASI. And so if the students are in school now with the expectation that they would be able to regain the number of days or weeks that they normally lose when they are coming to write the KWASI, you know. And this this strike is also coming in at a time that we expected that the teachers will have to be taught, students will have to be taught, because they have been sent to schools to regain the time that they normally lose. Unfortunately, it is not going to be a situation that is going to help all of us.
The ministry, the backstops with the ministry and the managers,
we are committed in making sure that we engage them.
The employers of the teachers. So again, the students will have to, the students, all Ghanaians will come back to the ministry, because the ministry is who we have employed to take care of this HR problems.
Agreed.
And so because we've run out of time, we'll move that on. So now what you're saying is that the strike is premature. You're asking them to return to the negotiating table. You're admonishing them to, reconsider their decision.
That is the best way to go.
Okay, so let's move on to another issue. Now, even if NAGRAT decides to go back to school, let's say to start, and hopefully you get to talk to them, and then you get them to go back to the classroom. The students are going to go to school without textbooks, and that has been a very big issue. Now, we're hearing from the publishers this afternoon or this morning that even the evaluation process, the process that they have to go through to submit the textbooks to the evaluating authority, has not even been completed, and school begins next week.
Well, textbooks are not supposed to be given to the current senior high school students, because we have not reviewed senior high school curriculum. Curriculum has been reviewed only at the basic level, and when I mean basic level, what I mean is that it is just the phase 1, which is KG1 to primary 6.
It's all part of the student body we're
well,
addressing
but it will
here.
not affect the senior high schools as you wanted to claim.
No, not necessarily. I haven't said anything about
you said because NAGRAT is now laying down their strike.
Okay, right. I get that. So let's focus on where the problem is.
So KG1 to primary 6, that is where we have reviewed the curriculum.
Okay.
In no time, in fact, I know that some private schools have already reopened their schools, and because of the fact that the resource packs that were given to the teachers when we were training them, which for once has been very detailed enough, it has given these teachers the skills and the competencies to be able to prosecute the new curriculum in their various classrooms.
Have you heard the teachers' thoughts on this?
Yesterday I was on this same platform and I listened to most of the teachers. There were some of them who felt that indeed the textbooks are sine qua non for them. They think that without the textbooks, teaching is going to be very difficult. But some, and even the Ministry of Education also disagrees, because we feel that the training that we took them through and the resource packs that we have also given to them is almost like a textbook. Textbooks are supposed to be given to students and parents as an add-on, and sometimes even teachers, to be able to guide them.
Okay,
but the
now
resource pack that we have given to them is
about the resource pack. You say that the resource pack is enough, but you're not a teacher. I'm not a teacher. The teachers are saying that you claim the resource packs are enough for us. We are the teachers. We are going to the ground to do the work. It's not enough for us. They have said that. Apart from that, the publishers today have also made the same point. They're saying that the resource packs may be something to start with, but it is not enough, and that the textbooks are still needed. They are the ones going to do the work.
It's not a hopeless situation, because we just started the new calendar, that is the new semester. So we hope that in no time we would be able to address the issues with the National Council for Curriculum Assessment, that is NACA, because NACA is the mother body, or is the only institution that is supposed to give accreditation to textbook publishers who are supposed to be giving these textbooks or be selling these textbooks to our students. So indeed, it has delayed, But because it's a new policy, it's a policy that we just introduced. Of course, some of these challenges are bound to happen.
But we should have thought through all of this before we introduce it. And I've spoken to education NGOs here, right here where you're sitting, who have said that they've looked at the reviews we've made. They think it's brilliant, but then they think that we need to hold on and have a proper rollout strategy. Roll it out when the systems that we need to make it successful is ready. But at this moment, they all think that we are not ready yet. So why don't we stick to the old curriculum, because we have the materials to back it, and then figure out how to get these books ready. Then we start on a good footing. That's the suggestion from education NGOs.
Well, it's not out of place, but the point also is that even next year, if you have to wait and reintroduce the new curriculum next year, you cannot be sure that you are not going to face problems.
Well, you face problems, but what we're facing at the moment is
when you are introducing anything new, obviously there are problems or there are challenges. We gave ourselves some timelines. We anticipated, and we thought that we would be able to meet the timelines and provide the textbooks.
So we failed on that timeline.
Unfortunately, we have not been able to meet the timelines. But all hope is not lost. But what we believe is that the teachers should be able to use the resource pack that we gave to them, which is detailed enough for them to be able to carry on with the new curriculum. And along the line, somewhere in the semester or the term, we would be able to provide them with the textbooks. So we hope that in no time, the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service is going to address some of these matters so that it won't become a problem whereby teachers will have to teach throughout the term or throughout the semester without the textbooks.
And what is holding this back? The publishers say they are evaluating, they're in the process. Do we know, again, if we have to set another timeline, are we going to be able to meet that timeline? Because as we speak, they're going to school next week, right? But as we speak, even the publishers are not done with their part to present it to NACA. And we don't know how NACA processes are and how early or late that will make, you know, the process again.
Well, I'm not in the position to give timelines, but what I'm sure about is that we do not want to also think that because of the situation that we find ourselves, then we are going to rush through and also provide, or as it were, approve of any textbook at all to be able to give to the kids. NACA is committed in making sure that the right textbooks are being approved and given to our students. So the processes will be duly followed. What we want to do is that we will rather want to fast track the process so that we will be able to approve the textbooks as early as possible without compromising on quality, especially with the intent of re-reviewing the curriculum, that's the new curriculum, so that we will be able to cure some mischief or detect defects in the old curriculum. I'm saying this because when you check from any employer, and most of them that you have been able to interview, they will tell you that clearly what they demand in the world of work is not what is being taught in our classrooms. And employers have always been complaining. And that is why we have to bring in the new curriculum.
That's so understood.
So the point I'm trying to make is that the textbooks will have to be tailored carefully to be able to cure that defect. And because of time, we wouldn't be pushed to rush through and bring out
and that's why I wanted to ask whether the ministry is considering the suggestion by education NGOs that we should hold on and do everything. I mean, have the systems in place before we roll out that. So for this year, we can stick to the old curriculum. Is the ministry considering that?
We can get talking. We can get talking. I'm not sure it is cast in stones.
Okay, we'll be going over to a brief shortly, where the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor OPOKU-AMANKWA, is addressing a press conference on this particular matter. But a very quick concern that has come from PIAC is saying that they're saying that we're focusing on when it comes to funding for education, especially for SHS, it's not really, we said we use oil money, but it's not really sustainable.
Well, I always make this argument. Last year, or let me even use this year, when the finance minister went to parliament, the amount of money that the whole nation we are spending is about 65 billion.
On what? On education generally?
No, the entire budget for the state. It differs. But I'm just using last year, I think last year or this year figure. But normally it hovers around 65 billion. Now, if the whole state, we are using 65 billion, and what we are using to build on our human capital, as far as our young ones are concerned, it's not even up to $1 billion. I am finding it very difficult to accept any sort of argument or any position that it is not sustainable to use almost $1 billion to fund our education in this country. And if you do the percentage, it is not even up to 5% of what we spend as a nation.
You make it sound very easy with those figures. You make it sound very easy on those figures, but we know, we've reported here over and over again the problems that the free SHS, policy has faced. And
it's funding problems, and you think that the government cannot allocate some amount of money to be able to deal with this matter. Auditor General told us that every year we are losing about $5 billion.
Tell us.
So if Auditor General says that we are using $5.5 billion for corruption alone, but we are using not up to $1 billion to fund our education, our free SHS, you think that is not sustainable?
Well, that's as if
why shouldn't the conversation be that how is the government going to make sure that those loopholes where monies are being siphoned into people's pockets,
that's a conversation that's already been had. That's a conversation that's already been had. Right now we're talking about education, we're talking about funding. PIAC is raising concerns, Public Accounts Committee raising concerns about alternatives, for example, that we can have rather than over-relying, in their words, over-relying on oil money. But I will have to go to Ibri. Right now, listen to Professor OPOKU-AMANKWA, who is addressing a press conference on the new curriculum.
Of experts, including parents, to re-examine the role and responsibilities of parents in the provision of education at the pre-tertiary level. This, we believe, when it's done, will guide us in our decisions on parent associations and what they are supposed to do to support us going forward. And as soon as the committee's work is done, we'll put it out for further discussion and then go on to implement. Now, for senior high schools, the year at the 2019-2020 academic year has begun with the return of Form 3s to school on 25th August 2019. Now, it is important for us to note that this year marks the full cohort of the entire school made up of free SHS from Form 1 to Form 3. The implication of every student in senior high school enjoying the free SHS program of the government should be obvious to all of us. Management of Ghana Education Service is conscious of the implications of this development in the administration and management of the schools under this circumstance. What it means is that it will require additional commitment and dedication from all stakeholders, managers, administrators, teaching and non-teaching staff, students, as well as parents. It is the expectation of management of GES that all stakeholders will work together and cooperate effectively to ensure the successful management of the system. Ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to announce that the first year, that is Form 1's green track students, are expected to reopen school on the 15th September 2019. Green track first years Form 1's are expected to reopen school on 15th September 2019. First year, that is Form 1 Gold Track, will reopen school on 12th November 2019. Form 2 Single Track. Not all the schools are doing double track. Some are doing single track. So Form 2 Single Track, and those on green track in the double track schools will reopen school on 15th September 2019. Form 2 single track schools Form 2, green in double track schools, will reopen school 15 September 2019. Form 2 students on gold track will reopen school on 15th October 2019. Once school reopens, there are a few things that are key. They include feeding, they include the funds that will go into the schools, and then resources like textbooks and other things. So we want to address issues regarding feeding and the supply of food, and then the funds that have been made available for that. Management has taken notes of the issues which have come up with regard to feeding, and in the process of reviewing the menu for the schools. As we speak now, a committee, that is, we have a committee that we call the Food Committee, have been meeting to look at issues relating to feeding in our schools. In relation to supplies of food, we work closely with the Ghana Buffer Stock Company, and we have given them the date for reopening, so they have also indicated these dates to their schools, to their suppliers who will be supplying the food to the schools. Now, management is pleased to inform you that the Honorable Minister of Education has authorized an increase in the percentage of money released to schools to cover perishable items from 20% to 30%. What we do is that we give the schools 20% of the amount that has been earmarked for feeding, and they use that 20% to buy perishables, the consumables and the other things. Now, that 20% has been increased to 30%. So what it simply means is that we're going to give you 100 Ghana cedis. If food was going to cost 100 Ghana cedis, we give you 20 Ghana cedis for perishables. The remaining 80 is the food that is supplied from buffer stock and other sources. Then, this time round, what is going to happen is that 30% will be given. So if it's 100 cedis, 30%, which will be 30 Ghana cedis, will be for the perishables, so that the schools can, this is to relieve them on the pressures that they have in the spendings that they do around these things. Another key thing that is important is teaching and learning materials. We are pleased to announce that adequate number of textbooks have been made available to all schools for use by all students. And these are core textbooks. Arrangements are also underlined. In fact, recently the ministry advertised for the procurement of elective books to be taken into the schools. And I know that the process is on course. We want to indicate to the schools that if there is any school that does not have any adequate supply of textbooks for the 4 core subjects, they should draw our attention, and we will get them addressed through the regional and district directors.
That's the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor OPOKU-AMANKWA. I still have here in the studio the PRO for the Education Ministry, Vincent Assafuah. So, Vincent, I wish that we had time to go into some of the things he's saying, you know, talking about, I think it boils down most of them to funding of our education system. But this point needs to be addressed. The publisher said about 15 million, an estimated 15 million Ghana cedi loss is on their hands because they had books. They had books for the previous curriculum, and they're hoping that government will come to their aid. I mean, this is a serious blow to the business as publishers.
Well, I don't think that government or the Ministry of Education is in business. The focus of the Ghana Education Service is to better our education system. As to whether somebody making money or somebody losing, it's not really our concern.
Really?
What is our concern is to get the right textbooks for our people. If government was in business, then you would just approve anything and just start with it.
No, but government should be in business. Everybody's business should be government business. They're talking about 50 million CDs here. These are publishers. They are the ones who have been publishing the books.
And I'm also telling you that our focus is to get the right textbooks for our students, not who is making what and who is not making what. That is not the business of the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education. Vincent
Assafuah is the PRO for the Education Ministry. Thank you very much for coming, Vincent. We need to go back to Ebri to listen to that stakeholder meeting ongoing. The Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor OPOKU-AMANKWA, is addressing the gathering.
The West Africa Examination Council released this year's, that is this 2019 BEC results on Thursday, 29th of August. Subsequently, WAEC submitted the results to GES on Saturday, the 31st of August, 2019, to enable GES commence the school placement process. According to the results submitted by WAEC to GES, the total candidature for the BEC was 517,331, 517,331. Out of this, a complete aggregate file of 514,215. That is 514,215 was submitted, and an outstanding data for 3,116 results is yet to be submitted to GES from WAEC. By our predictions, approximately 490,000 qualified students will be placed. 490,000 qualified students will be placed. The school placement process is on course, and the portal will be opened to the students, parents, and the general public on the evening of Sunday, 8th September 2019. The portal will be opened to the students, parents, and the general public on the evening of Sunday, the 8th September 2019. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, the following are the steps to assess results. 1, you purchase your voucher from vendors with mobile money or from vendors or with mobile money online. 2, you visit. This year we have 2 websites that they can go. You visit either csps.gov.gh or csps.org. Then you click on check placement. Then you enter your index number and your voucher code. Then you assess and print your placement form. For students, if a student is not automatically placed, they should assess the placement form, which will be indicated on the platform. For the PIN codes, we have accredited vendors who will deploy the PIN codes throughout the country. And we have about 5 or 6 of them. We have Phase Dynamic Ventures, Ghana Post Company, Swift Africa Logistics, ARB, Apex Bank, and Modelo and Gem Limited. They are the ones that have officially been allowed to sell the vouchers. We are also setting up a call center to resolve issues arising from the placement, and it will be open from Monday, 9 September 2019. And the number to call is 030 700 7777. 030 700 7777. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, let me also give you this vital information. For an amount of 124,523,037 Ghana cedis have been set aside for the payment of the fees for the free SHS for the first term. Now, you recall that the third years when they were going to school, we paid an amount of 61 million, which is the 20% that we've just spoken about. We paid an amount of 61 million for the first years. With the revision that has been done, what it means is that an additional 14 million will be paid to the schools for the third years. The second years, a total of 85 million will also be paid for them. And then for the first years, by our projections, we also will be paying a total of 95 million. If you put all together, you come up to a total of 194,523,037. And this is the initial amount that is going to the schools for the running of the schools as part of the free SHS program. Let me thank you again for coming, and let me pause here for any questions or contributions. Thank you.
Are you okay? Prof,
They're addressing a stakeholder meeting ongoing in Eburi. They're talking about education generally and all of the matters arising. Well, as when we at the time we got back to him, he was talking about the results, the BEC results, and the placement of senior high school student. Well, he did indicate to you where you can go to get the results and when the results will be released. He talks about 400,000 qualified students who will be placed, and that placement will begin on Sunday. He says that you can go on the portal by Sunday, the 8th of September. At that time, the portal will be opened. And that portal, let me just remind you again, is cssps.gov.gh. That is cssps.gov.gh. You can also go to cssps.org. That's cssps.org. If you have a child, you have a ward, you have a candidate who is supposed to be placed, get on this website, especially on the 8th of September, which is on Sunday, to check for the placement. He also talked about the result, WAEC result, and the fact that some of them are being withheld. They say they're still working on it. And then he talked about funding for the free SHS program. You heard him say that over 200 million has been approved for about over 400,000 students. We'll get you the exact and the specific figures as we go along. He breaks it down and talks about how much is allocated to each of the years, first year, second year, third year, etc. And then he gives you the total amount, which is 523,037 CDs there. That's the amount he just mentioned there. He is pausing for some questions from the stakeholders. Like we said, it's a stakeholder meeting, and we'll cross over back to him for that session as well. What questions are being asked and what answers they are for those asking those questions. And we will try and get you back that link from Ebri, where the Director General of the Ghana Education Service is speaking. We will get you more of what's been said there in our subsequent bulletins. Right now, though, I'm wrapping up. You can log on to myjoyonline.com for more news and information. Our carefully selected stories for you are there. If you scroll all the way down on that page, you get to see our YouTube link. That video will be there, and everything that Professor OPOKU-AMANKWA has said will also be on that YouTube link. Take your time and educate yourself there. My name is Gifty Andwapia. It's been a pleasure coming your way. Keep your eyes stuck on this channel because we bring you more on that education conference and all the matters arising in education and more.